Hello everyone, this is Shawnee Noctowls, and tonight I feel like I've been wanting to share my thoughts on this for a wee while. I know it's a bit of a decisive or divisive topic, as it were, but I feel a strong need to share about it, if only because of the developments that have occurred throughout the last few months. I noticed that a lot of people, at least that I've read comments on YouTube, at least, when it comes to videos that are either sexual or sensual, whether they are ASMR or other kinds like OnlyFans or the like. I think that there needs to be a healthy balance between how people view sexuality and sensuality in general, because I noticed that there are those out there um, that either uh, are sensual or sexual and demonize others that are sexual or sensual, and then there are others that seem to see connecting with one's sexuality or sensuality as a sign of weakness. And I think that's a problem, if only because I think connecting with one's own primal energy in a healthy manner is important because it allows us to connect with the universe, with others, with ourselves. I'm also, if it gives you any, at least a perspective of information, my sun sign is a Taurus, and although, um, everyone is more than just their zodiac signs, I think learning to connect well with the earth and with our bodies and with how we interact with the physical plane is something that is important for people to remember, because I know for a long time in history the body has been rather demonized by many different organizations and groups of people. But at the end of the day, our body is what allows us to still walk on this physical earth and what allows us to still interact with others, And I think there has to be a balance between how men and women both approach this topic, I think that and again, it's a very divisive topic, so I'll try to see how I can speak on this. But I do not feel that I don't feel that women should be shamed for connecting or expressing themselves in a sexual or sensual way. And I don't think that men should be shamed in connecting in a sexual or sensual way with women either. Because the thing is, if sexuality never occurred between uh, our species, we would probably inevitably all die out. And again, although that may sound a bit grim, I guess what I'm trying to say is, um, there's a there's a balance that has to be in place when working with these energies, because again, they can be very powerful, very primal, and very what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not going to say the urgency, but there is definitely a need to connect with the physical, connect with the primal forces that are in both men and women. And I think that um, as far as men are concerned, or women, I don't want to just say men, but um, when I look at things such as OnlyFans or things like that, where people pay or pay content creators money to see more explicit material, I think it's important to not necessarily shame those people for doing that, but at least for me personally, I believe uh, that you can connect sensually and sexually in a healthy way or in a healthy manner to where you don't have to feel obliged to offer someone gold or silver to connect with those energies, because it's kind of like going into the forest or into the mountains. You don't necessarily need to offer gold or silver to enter those mountains or forests, if only because the mountain and forest is willing to already accept you and already um, sees you as enough to enter its bowels. And while I understand there are both men and women both that feel like that they need to feel the urgency to get paid somewhat for these services in order to um, you know um, uh, survive, as it were. I'm trying to see another word how to describe it, but um, and I have had some female connections in the past that while they didn't necessarily interact with OnlyFans, there were other methods that they felt needed to be done in the past, and I won't mention their names, but they felt it was needed in order to survive, and I don't think that while it's not something I necessarily promote, I also don't believe that other people, men or women, should actively shame these people with a grin, because I think that's, when you're in a situation uh, where you really are not sure how you're going to take care of yourself, then I think that, it's important for there to be a balance between uh, people recognizing why some of these things happen, and I had a female connection in the past where she was in dire straits, and I decided to promote a charity for her, or GoFundMe, because I felt it was needed to help her and her family, for a time. And there are other healthy, at least to me, healthier ways to help others in financial straits, you know, and I think that I think that sexuality and sensuality in its purest form can best be enjoyed when it's given out of an act of love or an act of care, you know. When you really care about someone, or when you really are willing to share with them in an open, genuine, and safe haven kind of a way, I think it can bring a lot of healing for a lot of people. Because at its core, sensuality and sexuality is a way of how we deeply connect with ourselves, with ourselves and with others, you know. And without that interaction, there's something lost, you know. And I think a lot of people tend to demonize these things so much that they kind of forget that it's part of who we are, you know, and it's part of what allows one of the certain heightened emotions to occur, or for life to be born, you know. And so I think that there's definitely a balance and a kind of a middle ground. I think that if only both men and women, or people in general, could see that fine line, I think it would help bring a lot of healing. Because I think that uh, I think that money shouldn't be seen as the sole prerogative to connect with one's sensuality or sexuality, you know? Because I think of the Morrigan, and I think of her deathly gaze, and I, have heard other people have visions of how, when people tried to build grandiose monuments or temples for her, they would crumble down. And I think that if someone were to give her all the finest riches in the world for her services, she would probably crumble them all, because they forget the reason of why she connected with them in the first place, as an example. And again, I know different feminine energies connect differently with people, but that is something that at least I would see if the Morrigan were to connect with other people, male or female. And as a man, and as not only my connection to Morrigan, but my connection to Canunos, I think Canunos, as well as myself, I feel like, when I see him, he does enjoy connecting sensually or sexually with someone, but there's also a purity that has to happen too, a purity of intent, um, a purity of connecting, to where both sides are respected and are doing it for one another's mutual benefit, whether it's out of love, care, or just the overall intimacy of the event, and I think that it's important for people, just to learn how to connect deeply with these things, because if you just shame it on a superficial level, it can cause a lot of damage. And although there are certain people, I won't mention their names, but although there are certain people where their sexuality or sensuality can be a little bit destructive to others, I think it's more so not always a person intentionally doing that. Um, I think it just comes to a point where where those kind of people have to do a lot of inner healing within themselves to where when they do connect in those manners again, they can do it in more so of a healthy way in order to heal themselves and others. Because there's nothing wrong with being seductive, sensual, or sexual, but there is a way you can do it where some of those who have mastered it or who have been able to go through the dark cave and find illumination, they just are able to express themselves in a way where it still may be dark, but it's kind of like a raven's eyes shining, where it is pure darkness, but it is comforting. And when you look at the raven's eyes, you just see light coming out of it, kind of like looking at a star goddess or looking at the raven night sky, where it's very, very pure and comforting. And and again, it's something that it's definitely many layers. It's not something where you can just look at someone at the superficial level and be able to readily recognize. You know, it's almost like you have to peer into their hearts, their eyes, their soul, to really see who and what they are. You know, because it's one thing to look at a person's flesh, but it's another thing to look at their soul. You know, and although I think it's important to accept the flesh, it's also important to accept the soul and find a balance between the flesh and the soul and recognize the importance of just kind of understanding why how they correlate and how you can best balance them so they can both work well with one another. But yeah, I think I know this topic kind of evolved far more than just what the title was saying, but I think with any intimate action, it's always a subtle kind of movement, and then it eventually becomes something far deeper than what one would have imagined. And I think that I think that, and that's the one reason why I enjoy Wicca and Celtic mythology, because they, instead of demonizing sexuality, they find a way of how to embrace it in a healthy manner and see the merits of it within both man and woman. And I think just being able to see how it allows us to connect with ourselves and others is something that I think is something that shouldn't necessarily be shamed, but something that should be utilized in a constructive manner to where it can be both healing and impactful in a positive way for both ourselves and others. Again, it's a very, very deep topic, and you know, I think if people, or more people rather, because there are people who see the merits of this, but if there are more people that are willing to strip the taboos that have been constructed by various societal norms for a fair amount of time, and understand some of their roots, whether it's Celtic, Norse, Native American, or Indian, or other cultures or other ways of being or spirits, if they can see the importance of who they are in a healthy manner and their relation with others, then I think it can. I think it would help bring a lot of balance. It really. It really comes to the point where if people can see their inner value beyond just the amount of gold or silver they have in their bank accounts or the amount of properties they own, I think that can also help. Because there is nothing necessarily wrong with money or physical or financial possessions, so to say, but it is also important to find value within yourself, and learn how to embrace it in a constructive manner when you're connecting with others. And I think that would bring a lot of balance to one's masculine and feminine sort of energy, so to speak, for both male and female. But yeah, again, I know, I know what I'm saying is probably not what a lot of people would have expected for me to say, because again, when I go into these topics, I tend to go rather deep, if only because I try to find a way in which it can be constructively communicated. But yeah, I think, there are healthy ways to go about it. It is important for there to be a sense of mutual respect from one person to another. If people can learn to value themselves and learn how to connect with others and see their inner value as well from the other person with themselves and find a balance with that and the voice to um, resolve certain situations in constructive manners, as well as learning what they wish to comfortably connect with, then I think it can help a lot. I think, a lot of people can get a little bit intimidated about these kind of subjects, but I think it's important to be able to talk about them, because I think that, a lot of people experience these things, and I don't think that people should necessarily be shamed about it. And if you can learn to connect with it in a healthy manner, and be willing to constructively uphold it as well as yourself and how you connect with others, I think that can help a lot. Anyways, guys, that was my overall thoughts about this kind of a subject. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Anyways, guys, until next time, peace.